There we go. Let's get Facebook in here and we can start the show. We got the wheel spinning. One. Wow, that was fast. 1 and 2. All right. Well, welcome in. Welcome in. Happy belated Christmas. Merry Christmas. Whatever. Happy Boxing Day to the Brits in the crowd out there. Maybe Canadians. I don't know. I don't even know what Boxing Day is necessarily. I know it's like a big day for soccer. I think they kind of have like a lot of big soccer games. But we're here to talk about last night's big game as the Broncos go into Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs 20-13 in Denver's first win in Kansas City. I was going to say the state of Missouri. I mean, probably the Chiefs, the Rams left, obviously. So yeah, Denver first place gets the dub, back in the winning ways. I'm Nick Kendall, joined by Carl Dumler as we're giving Eric the morning off. God bless. He works so hard. I'm happy that Eric can have some time off, and it's good we get to hang out. Carl, I missed you on. Well, you missed me. I missed you too, but on Tuesday.
Yeah. We just get a little surprise building the Broncos just a couple days later, and instead of the usual water, we get a little extra coffee this morning. I made sure to come over and I saw somebody say, I didn't know Carl woke up. Todd saying that here this morning, this early. And, it's hit and miss for me. I've got kids, so it depends if my wife has to get them up or if I have to get them up, if I'm up this early or not. And so glad I could actually be. This is my first time being on this one for the morning show.
I was going to say, I don't ever remember you doing morning shows.
I have not. So we'll see how this goes. I don't know if I'll be as intelligent in the morning as I am in the evenings. I'm sure everybody agrees with that, right? In the comments.
I mean, they come and listen to what I have to say, so I don't think they're here looking for intelligence or anything like that, or good looks or entertainment. I don't know what you guys are doing here. You fools. No, but happy holidays, everybody here. Good to see you, Carl, and really happy that we could be here for a Broncos victory. Obviously, we coming off that unfortunate game against the Jags. I mean, they just kind of pushed every right button, and sometimes that happens. And it's people were. I would say most people weren't freaking out, but kind of maybe a little bit of a reality check for the team and the fans. And this was a little bit of a sweater on not a Christmas sweater, but a Christmas sweater, if you will, out there in Arrowhead as the Broncos only win by one possession in a game that honestly they thoroughly dominated in most categories that you'd look at and be like, oh yeah, this team is winning the matchup. But when you lose in some very, very key areas and other things that we'll get into, it can be a close game. It was a kind of a boring game to that extent, but it's never boring when the Broncos win. Also never boring. Perry West coming in. Perry West, 2193. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. He says, nice Christmas gift. Good morning, guys. Well, thank you so much, Perry. Happy holidays. And if you guys are in the giving mood, after you've taken care of you and yours and everything like that, be like Perry. Drop a super chat that we'll get to you, of course. And if not, like, subscribe, share, click the thumbs up, all of our Facebook folks, all that good stuff. But thank you so much, Perry. It really goes a long way. Cheers to you as I drink out of my parents' Spode mug this morning.
Yeah, it's not quite the win we wanted, but we could have also been in the boat of the Detroit Lions having 6 turnovers and losing to a team that had a net 4 passing yards for a game. So at least we didn't do that.
No.
I mean, every win, even if they're an ugly win, you've got to take a picture of the full season and say, okay, we've got 13 wins. Yes, this wasn't pretty, but it was on the road. And there weren't as many Chiefs fans there as there usually is, but they still showed up. It was still pretty loud there in that fourth quarter. And so I'm going to treat it that way, that this was still a pretty good rivalry game. There were still some really good players for the Chiefs playing. Chris Jones was in there, Travis Kelce, Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith. There were still a lot of really good players. And so it's not like they completely said, all right, we're going complete B team, C team in this game. There were starters. So we got David Youngkin coming in saying every single Bronco fan has to be concerned with the defense. I'm not concerned about the offense, and that is surprising to say. Here's what the offense, I'm a little bit concerned. We haven't been finishing drives like we had earlier in the year. Like we didn't get to the red zone a ton, but when we did, we scored touchdowns. Now we're getting to the red zone, but we're not finishing off drives. Defensively, we're just red zone defenses decide to crap the bed. I don't know how better to say that. I don't know what's going on there. And I think the part that concerned me in this one, they didn't give up a ton of yards. I think it was like under 140 yards for the total for the game. There were still the missed tackles. Riley Moss had another really bad missed tackle in this one that made a run play that should have been, I don't know, probably about 2 yards turn into about a 20-yard run. You had Hufanga miss on a really easy tackle where he was right there, would have been blown up for a negative 6-yard play turned into, I think, like a 10-yard play. And then the miscommunications are still there. The one touchdown the Chiefs did have, that was a miscommunication. 2 guys went with one guy, another guy wide open in the flat for an easy touchdown. Those are the kind of things that are driving me up a wall that weren't quite there earlier in the season. Just guys not being in the right spot.
Yeah. And I think I agree with you, Carl. I'm going to put a little different, not a different take, but a different vernacular on it. They're not finishing right now. And that is both the offense on drives. That is the defense on plays. It's whether it be in the backfield. It's also their quarterback, who's got a funny name, Oladokin. I feel like that's like a Street Fighter word or something. Yeah, exactly. But like a lot of times I had him near dead in the backfield and he got away, and it wasn't always, giving up explosives, but when you are the difference between a 10-yard loss compared to a 3-yard gain, that's, net 13 yards on that. So a lot of issues finishing for this Broncos team, playing with their food, maybe a little bit as well. And again, Denver is 13-3. I'm not going to sit here and say that they are frauds, but I also think that they're probably a step under what you typically think of a team that's in the number 1 seed this time of year. I think the crowd is the field's a little bit more congested, and the Broncos, because of good coaching and execution, which matters, they've earned the right to have that first round bye. I wouldn't call this a juggernaut team by any means, but you get into the dance, you never know, especially if you can get that first round bye here, which we'll get into some playoff scenarios as well. I'm also going to have one more take on this. I thought the Denver defense in this one, while giving up that touchdown was frustrating, they were really freaking good in this game too. Overall, I mean, the Chiefs didn't even have over 100 yards until that final drive, Carl. Total 100 yards on offense. Now, again, they're playing Oladokin, whatever, but the Chiefs only get 10 total first downs in the game, 139 total yards. Again, they were under 100 on that last drive, only 3.3 yards per play, 2.5 yards per pass. I mean, the 4.3 on the run game was not what you want necessarily, but there was a few, big runs there at the end, and some stuff that on tape they can correct. But coming out of this game, as far as if you're splitting the team up into, run offense, pass offense, run defense, pass defense, I think the area I'm most concerned with, Carl, is the run offense in general. I mean, they are really the opposite. They're inefficient, and you have RJ Harvey in this one come in for 14 carries for 43 yards and 3.1 yards per rush. A lot of unsuccessful runs on the whole in this one from the Broncos in their run game. So success rate of 43%, EPA per total EPA for RJ Harvey, negative 2.3, by far the largest negative EPA for the Broncos in this game. The only players that had worse total in the game was Oladokin for the Chiefs. So I'm honestly most concerned with the run offense right now, with the caveat being, do we need to get Jaleel McLaughlin the ball more? Because like his runs actually look significantly better than RJ Harvey right now.
There was one run for RJ Harvey. It ended up being a good positive run, I think, for 5 or 6 yards. But he missed the open hole and somehow escaped a tackle and actually then made it to the right place where he was supposed to be. Mm-hmm. If he'd just gotten to the right place, he didn't have to make somebody miss, and it would have been an even more positive yards because it was blocked up well. And I just feel like there's a lot of plays where that's just the case where he's not seeing it. We harped on this for Javonte Williams, his rookie season. I remember, I mean, there's a lot of positives, and there's a lot of positives for RJ Harvey as a receiving back. Great. I mean, one of the, I would say a top 10 receiving running back in football right now, with the way that he's been able to get open, turn into a really positive play, many times even turn into a touchdown. I mean, that's why there's you'll see tweets out there of his name being mentioned with some of the greats, because that's what he's been able to do, be that all-around running back of rushing touchdowns, receiving touchdowns, and that's great. But the rushing part of it, like you said, it's infuriating. The vision is not there, and when you get to the playoffs, every yard counts. It's going to get tougher to pick up those first downs. You get against a team like Houston or the Chargers coming up, where they will eat you alive if you miss an opportunity. That's not good. And the Broncos are playing at the smallest of margins right now, unfortunately.
But that's the NFL too, by and large, right? Like even the best teams in the league, you're going to have small margin games.
It's true. It's true. It just, the Broncos could be so much more if the run game was even just average at this point. And something that is not average is Shannon Mills coming in with the 1999 Super saying, "Good morning, happy holidays." That was not the prettiest win, but at least they won. Hope they get the rest and refocus they need for the Chargers game. Any news on Hufanga? Losing him would be bad. I haven't heard any updates on injuries.
I think he came back in.
Did he? Okay.
I think he's fine. Yeah, I think you'd have heard of something after the game. Losing him would be bad. Big Pro Bowl snub. Hopefully we can rectify that with him getting an All-Pro nod. Him and Kyle Hamilton, and for my money, are the best two safeties in football right now. But no, I am like 95% sure he came in on that last drive. Came back.
Okay. So hopefully that's the true news, and that's how it works out, because you're right. This defense doesn't go without him. I mean, I know the defense has been not great, but you lose Hufanga, and I definitely, it takes a major blow to my thoughts of the Broncos winning the Super Bowl if he can't be a go for the playoffs. But as for the rest of it, I'm with you. The one thing I'm trying to hold on to here is the last mini bye that the Broncos had right before that first Chiefs game. You know, all of us were talking like, "Oh man, this is not looking good," because was it the Raiders? Yeah, it was the Raiders game, the first one, the 10-7 win, and it was very, very ugly. And then all of a sudden the Broncos came back, and there was like a 4 or 5 game run there where all of a sudden we're going, "Oh, here we go. Offense, you're finally figuring it out. Bo Nix, you look like a top 10 quarterback."
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm hoping that can be the case now for the defense again, getting them refocused, looking at some of this stuff, maybe getting a little bit healthy. I feel like there must be something going on with Riley Moss, because tackling is not one of the things I've ever been concerned with him. And all of a sudden, the last couple games here, he's missed about 3 or 4 big tackles that could have turned into some big plays. And this one, there's one that he got really fortunate where Xavier Worthy stepped out of bounds, but he missed that tackle there, and Worthy had a lot of room to run if he hadn't stepped out of bounds. And then, like I said, he missed that tackle. And there's another one where he missed a big running play. I mean, I didn't turn into a huge running play. I just looked it up. It was 14 yards for Kareem Hunt. But you had him dead to rights in the backfield, and a play going for 0 compared to 14 changes the dynamic for sure. But so yes, 10-day break. I'm very thankful, especially with a huge Chargers game, #1 seed on the line. You get the extra days to prepare for an opponent. That is the big thing that I'm really holding on to, that gives me hope the Broncos can go and beat the Chargers at home with 10 days rest.
And we'll see what happens with that Chargers game on Saturday. We'll talk a little bit more about the playoff scenarios and what this means for the Broncos with 1 game left. They still have a wide range of seeds that they could come down with, Carl, depending on how the games go. But shout out to Shannon, 1999 on Boxing Day. Also, the last name Mills. That's a win in my book. Obviously, as some of you know, my son's name is Mills. So awesome last name. Happy holidays. Thank you, Shannon. We appreciate you so much. We got Todd in the house. Merry Christmas. Good to see you. Said Broncos eked out another win. Nothing spectacular on offense. Defense could have played better. I guess they could have played better. Like, they didn't have any of the big negative plays. I think they only had 1 sack in this game, Carl, which is frustrating. And they gave up some big plays, but like I said, they only had They had less than 100 yards given up entering that final drive there where the Chiefs needed it. And they did march down the field, which is frustrating. You hope they would just, put their foot on the Chiefs' throat when they had to have an obvious drop back situation, and they didn't. But really, this was a game I thought the score was much closer than a lot of the advanced stats indicate. I mean, you have the Chiefs scoring their only touchdown off of one of the flukiest turnovers you'll ever see. And then they had a 50-plus yard field goal, and I think maybe they also had a 48 that came on the heels of a big special teams flip as well. And a lot of these like things in the margins that the Broncos need to clean up, they lost in this one. I know a lot of people were pissing and moaning, and I think a little bit rightfully so, about the reffing in this one. Denver's, just seems like going to be one of those years where they're not the most disciplined team, but it doesn't feel like it's always called the same, graded under the same rubric for both sides sometimes. But that's what it is. And they lost another game, lost another turnover battle in this one. So that, on top of giving up an explosive special teams return on top of it. And then the red zone, you already mentioned it, Carl. Chiefs only getting down to the red zone once, which is a win, but 1 for 1 versus 2 for 4 for the Broncos in the red zone. When you are playing a game like the Broncos did, where each team only gets 7 drives, I guess 7 for the Broncos. They had 8, but that last drive was a kneel down. Shouldn't count. The margins are much smaller. You have to be able, most games I think average 12, 13, Carl. So this game went down fast. And when you're doing that, yes, it is really good to control the ball and win the time of possession. But if you're scoring 3s instead of 7s on those long drives, you invite variance and volatility into the results in a lower possession game. So one of the reasons when Chip Kelly was at Oregon, Carl, he was obsessed with running fast and getting in as many plays as possible, because the more drives and the more plays you have, the more likely a team with a massive talent advantage is going to win. If you slow it down, it gets closer, and you allow teams that are inferior in talent to stick around. And that's what was going on in this game against Kansas City. Hat tip to them. Good defensive game plan to not allow the Broncos to get like almost any explosives. And they kept it close, but Denver took care of business in the end, and there's no such thing as a gimme in the NFL. So happy to still get that dub.
You're right. I mean, the Chiefs getting most of their points off of just kind of a couple fluky plays that the team hasn't been giving up. The crazy interception that still question a little bit whether it was really an interception. That ball moved just a little bit.
On the field.
I mean, the calls, yeah, I know. And then the special teams. I'm not going to let one play sway me. I mean, special teams has actually been a big plus for this team for the last 5-6 weeks. Mm-hmm. So I'm not too worried about giving up one big return. But like I said, when you get to the playoffs, those are the kind of things that can really turn a game. And I think the part for me with the defense that I was a little bit frustrated is Chiefs playing backup tackles, third string quarterback. And I don't feel like their quarterback ever looked like he was really all that rattled by what the Broncos were doing. You know, he looked pretty comfortable most of that game. And I understand Chiefs actually, they had a really good game plan to help that kid out, where they did a lot of max protect, a lot of chipping to make sure that our edges couldn't get a full steam ahead, you know, get around the edge for Bonito. So I got to give it to him. That was a really good game plan to help protect their guy, give him a little bit of time to look around. If I'm concerned about it, I'm not concerned. If I was frustrated with anybody, it was kind of our interior guys. They were not getting some of the pressure that I was hoping, but the Chiefs' interior offensive line is good. I do have to give them that. With Creed Humphrey, I mean, he's Pro Bowl, All-Pro almost every year. Trey Smith is another guy that's a very, very good guard in the NFL. So I don't want to take away from their talent by any means, but I just wish there were a few more plays we made him feel more uncomfortable. And you would expect, if it's a third string quarterback, that you would force maybe at least one turnover. And it was very frustrating. Probably the worst play for me was when their quarterback fumbled the ball, you know, and it felt like one of those, I'm not a very good singer, but you know, when it has that, I can't do it, but like the
circus song.
Yeah, the circus song is playing in the background, and he's just kind of running around, and they've got like sped up, and it's just like, what in the world? This guy can drop it, pick it back up, move around a little bit, and then there's a wide open receiver for him to throw it to. And it's just like, what are we doing? Does anybody play? It's one play. The guy made a great play. I got to give it to him. But those are the kind of things that just a little bit frustrating. And I'm nitpicking because you expect your defense to dominate a game like this. And they were not put in the best situation by any means by the offense with the turnover, special teams giving up play. But they still got the job done. You're right. And they're at the end holding them. Chiefs got a couple big plays. It did have me a little nervous. I was not nervous during that game until about 4 minutes left. And then I was kind of like, oh, crap. This seemed like one of those games where nothing was quite going our way. The officials were not calling the game in our favor until that fourth down play, which was great. Thank you, Chris Jones, for jumping off sides on that one. But otherwise, and then, like I said, just one ball bouncing the wrong way just had me a little bit nervous that this could be one of those games that we give away that we shouldn't give away. But thankfully, got the job done, like I said. And you're 13-3. We really are nitpicking at this point when we're complaining about our team being 13-3 and squeaking out a win.
Yeah, I mean, not to say I only have one kid and he's not that age, but let's say you have a kid who is brilliant in your classroom, right? And they are goofing around a little bit and they get a bad grade on a test. Maybe you're a little bit more disappointed than the kid who is really trying pretty hard and, not destined to, be a doctor or something. And they pull out a C, and that was, hard for them. When you have different expectations, because there is more talent, the season's been different. You're going to grade them differently, different lens. So we'll see how it plays out. We do want to say hello to more folks coming in here. We got Keith Danabom in here. Good to see you. A little worried about the whole squad. I'm not worried. There's things that it's so hard to play a perfect game in the NFL. And a lot of times you are playing a perfect game. There's asterisks because the team you're playing against probably has some major flaws. Yeah, it's hard in the league, but Denver took care of it. And, things that we've already talked about, they need to work on, but we'll see. We got a big game coming up coming up next. We'll see what the stakes are exactly for that. It's going to depend on the games Saturday and Sunday. And Monday, question mark? I don't even know who plays Monday. It might be the 49ers Bears. I don't remember. That's going to be a great game. But we'll see. Good to see you, Keith. Happy holidays. Benjamin says, how many passing yards of the Chiefs have? Total yards. 2 of the Chiefs scores come with interception and special teams. Yeah, exactly what we were talking about. I don't think defense had a bad game, though. There's things you could correct, obviously. And God, they need to start taking the freaking ball away. But also, I don't think this is me saying, oh, the defense figured it out. The Chiefs are really injured. They're missing a lot of key players, and they're playing a third-string quarterback whose name didn't even know of before Gardner Minshew went down with injury. So I don't think it's a game that you can really take away too much from the defense. They did what they were supposed to do for the most part, limiting a undermanned team in Kansas City. So have they fixed their issues since the bye week because of this game? No, but they had a better game than what the score indicates.
Yeah, you're right. And like I said, that there was only one drive that game that they did after a kickoff and actually drove down and scored any kind of points. And it was 3 points. So the defense did pretty darn well. Yeah, it was only 3 points, barely 150 yards allowed, but it still somehow felt like the defense was getting carved up. I think we just have such high expectations, and especially because how well this defense was playing earlier in the year to now see what they've been these last 5 weeks, where they went from this is why you're winning all these games to now, oh crap, defense, you've become a liability. Offense, you got to go put up points if we're going to stand a chance in this game. And so I think that's been a little bit frustrating. The sacks aren't coming like they were, this one, like I said, 1 sack, I think it was. Mm-hmm. And when you're going for the sack record, this is one of those games where you're like, man, I thought we'd have 10 sacks and we had 1. And I mean, part of it, like I said, the game plan, you're trying not to give up the explosives. This quarterback, he could run. He had some shiftiness to him. There's my son, anytime he's playing football and he makes somebody miss, he'll yell out ankles. And this is one of those games where I can't remember which defensive lineman it was, but I mean, he made him fall. And my son was like, ankles. I'm like, shut up over there. I didn't say that to my son, but I really thought it pretty hard. And because, I mean, he made some nice plays. And we got Gatorade Gaming. Good morning, Nick, Carl, and Dylan. What's good, Broncos country? Good to see you. Thanks to everybody for coming in this morning. I'm sure some of you have a food hangover, maybe some other hangovers. I know I ate plenty last night. My mom asked me to bring a cheese dip for the game, and we had supper right before that. And afterwards, she goes, "I'm sorry that I made you bring that because everybody ate and then nobody ate your cheese dip." So I have a giant thing of cheese dip sitting in my fridge, and like everybody in the family is leaving town except for me because I've got to work. So I'm gonna have cheese dip for my meals for like the next 3 days.
Oh man, lactate is your friend. Walk it out. That's there's worse ways to suffer, but that's a lot of cheese dip. We got Dominique coming in 13-3. Hope everyone had a good holiday, Christmas, whatever, Hanukkah. To all you folks out there, appreciate everybody. A lot of questionable calls in this game. That false start on Ben Powers, the offensive PI on Evan Ingram. Also, I mean, there's just some of them were like, call them both ways. I don't know about that, but yeah, frustrating to see. We got Doug coming in here. Now finish off the Chargers. Happy New Year's. Blessings to the MHH family. Isaac coming in here. ECO. I can never get this name. I feel like you've told me before. I'll just call you iMoney. I764. RJ's not a cowbell. Him and JK were so good together. Need a running back in the draft. Unfortunately, it does not look like a good running back draft class, but there'll be avenues for the Broncos to bring in running backs in free agency and maybe even trades. Bronco for Life come in and says, I say start McLaughlin. I mean, he's running better than RJ Harvey right now. Now he doesn't bring the same pass catching prowess that RJ Harvey has. But I mean, RJ Harvey goes 14 for 43 yards. McLaughlin 7 for 40 yards. And it's not like that was just, 130-yard carry. He was consistently more efficient than the running backs. And one thing I'm glad that we have this card that we can play, Carl, but the Broncos team rushing stats look okay on the whole coming out of this one. 32 rushes for 128 yards. I mean, that's a fine number, especially when you consider they only had like 7 actual possessions. But you have Bo Nix propping that up a lot with 9 rushes for 42 yards and 9 carries from your quarterback in a game against this Chiefs team. I don't love it. Now, again, taking space, I feel like he did a really good job protecting himself. The only time he really put himself in quote unquote harm's way was when he rolled over that defensive back for the end zone. And like, if you're going to take a hit, that's the way to do it. Go over the guy, make him go down. I mean, you're protecting yourself still, but I don't love him having to have 9 carries and you take away 40 yards from this. You're talking about a Broncos team that had 80 total rushing yards on, gosh, what would it be? 21 carries, 23 carries. Not good enough. The running attack from this team right now is scary to me.
Yeah, I like that Bo Nix is a little bit more willing to run. I think this is part of what always made the Chiefs more dangerous in the playoffs is Patrick Mahomes saved a lot of his rushing for the playoffs. And all of a sudden you see him take off for 2 or 3 more carries per game in the playoffs than he did in the regular season, where he was willing to put himself a little bit more on the line. And I mean, that's smart. And I'm kind of hoping that's what we're building towards with Bo Nix of, hey, we get to the playoffs, handcuffs are off, go run. If you need to go run, go pick us up the first down. And you're right. He's done a great job of protecting himself. There's one rush play. It was near the end zone. I can't remember which drive it was, but there's one where he could have picked up about 3 or 4 more yards if he had he just kind of ducked out of bounds. And I yelled at the TV at the moment, but afterwards I'm kind of like, why am I yelling about that? My quarterback is healthy. I'm looking at a team that right now that we're playing, Patrick Mahomes isn't healthy because he's taken so many hits. I'm looking at the Commanders losing their star quarterback because he keeps taking all these hits, where he would have tried to pick up those extra 3 to 4 yards. And so I can't be mad if he's out there protecting himself, making sure that he lives to play another game, play another down, those kind of things. And he's being smart about it. So I'll take that for sure. But you're right. We can't have our run game based on the idea that Bo Nix is going to prop it up. It has to be something we can do from under center, get these running backs going, picking up 4 or 5 yards a carry on a consistent basis, not these 0 or negative plays, because those just completely throw the entire offense off base. And you get against a team, like I keep propping them up, but Houston, you can't give that defense an opportunity to have a 3rd and long if you're going to win that game. They will dominate that kind of thing. And we got Kevin coming in saying, do you think if the Broncos played like they did yesterday that they'll win against the Chargers? No, I do not. I mean, well, okay. If the defense plays like that, then I think I think they'd be fine. If you're holding Justin Herbert to under 150 yards passing, we're probably winning that game. And the offense, they moved the ball pretty well. They just didn't put up the points. You've got to do a little bit better in the red zone.
I would say, Carl, they not even didn't put up the points. They had 7 drives, right? Like if you have one of those drives turn into 7 instead of 3, you're talking about averaging almost 4 yards a possession on the possessions that actually mattered. Again, they had 8 total, but that last one was just kneeing the football, so not an actual possession. I think they did okay. The issue in this one, and we hadn't talked about it too much, and again, it's a hat tip to the Chiefs, but the explosives were not there. Denver played this game kind of like they did that Raiders game early on, where they really possessed the football. And other than that turnover, I didn't really think that there was per se a bad thing, but you can really feel, and you guys, if you've listened to me for a bit, you know how much I harp about explosive plays in here. And the Broncos, I think they were hunting. You have to see the all 22 on some of those like under center play action drops to see if there was anything actually there. But the Chiefs are playing a lot of 2 high shells. And because of that, the Broncos weren't able to hit the explosives down the field in the pass game. And Sean Payton talked about it either right before going to the locker room at the end of the first half or coming back out to start the second half. But he's saying, and he corrected himself to saying, I have to do a better job in designing and executing the run game because of what the Chiefs are doing in coverage right now. And that's why I keep coming back to the Broncos. My main concern right now is the run offense in general, because the Chiefs, a lot of these teams right now are playing a little bit, don't give up the explosives for the Broncos, because we do not think they can run us out of high shells. And they're betting that Broncos will make a mistake, penalty, something like that, because it's so freaking hard to score touchdowns consistently on those 10, 14 plus play drives. You've seen Tom Brady, Peyton Manning likes to do that. That shouldn't be the requirement for Bo Nix. You got to figure out how to get some explosives in there or punish teams for playing those 2 high shells with the ground game. And Denver's not doing that right now. But back to the question, can the Broncos beat the Chargers like this? A few of these key stats would have to go the other way, I would assume, red zone, penalties, turnovers. But again, I come back to, I don't think this was a terrible game from the Broncos. Just some of these things in the low possession make it look a lot closer than the stats would indicate on the overall down-to-down performance of the team.
Yeah. And again, it's a game of inches. There's a couple plays a couple drops doesn't help as well. And then there's a play, I think it was Cortland Sutton. It wasn't a drop in my opinion. It was not the best throw, where he was having to lay out for it. And it would have been, I think, about a 20-yard pass. And Bo Nix didn't set his feet. Unfortunately, we're back to that. But he corrected that after the last mini bye, where he kept running up in the pocket, throwing, and it was usually high and high, with some heat.
To be fair, that touchdown at the end was off balance, like the one to Harvey. So might have to live with it a little bit. Just only play that card when you have to, Mr.
Right.
Nix.
Right. And that was, I think, my frustration with the Sutton one was he didn't have to. Mm-hmm. He had room to reset his feet. It wasn't like Sutton was running himself into coverage. It was man coverage. He was going to be wide open, run across the field anyway. And so those kind of things, just got to hit those. You can't miss an open receiver like that. But we got Roblox coming in saying, good morning, Nick and Carl. Great to see Carl in the morning. Thank you. Biggest game since Super Bowl 50 next week. Let's go. Wide receiver round 1. Thank you for the super chat there with the $4.99. And wide receiver round 1, I wouldn't be against it. It's maybe not my top choice, I'm a wide receiver guy. I love wide receivers, but I do feel like it's not that it's an overvalued position, because it is very, very valuable to have a guy that can win one-on-one and get himself open, or be a guy that can go up and make a catch when he is covered. That's huge for a quarterback. But there are just so many good receivers coming out of college these days. I think you can find them in different places. And so I'd rather work on the trenches, just because that's what's got us where we are here today. Good offensive line, great defensive line. I'd rather keep adding to those groups if you can. Now, if there's a wide receiver that's worth it there in round one, you don't pass it up, because yes, wide receiver 2 has been a problem so far this year. Sutton didn't have a great game either, so you got to start thinking about the future for him. I'm not saying get rid of Sutton. I'm just saying he's not the clear-cut number one kind of guy. He's not a Jamar Chase, CD Lamb kind of guy. I wish still mad about that of taking Jerry Jeudy over CD Lamb, but I'll get over it someday, maybe.
The mistake
if we find
was Jefferson.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. That would have been even better.
In hindsight.
Yeah. But no, I don't have a problem with wide receiver round one. I really do like what Pat Bryant's bringing to the table when he's healthy. We'll have to see if he's coming back this year or not from the concussion. Hopefully so, because he's been a really nice bright spot. I mean, he hasn't put up great numbers per se, but he's made a lot of really nice catches and obviously big in the run game. And so again, I'm not against wide receiver round one. I just don't know with Sean Payton's system. Usually his is kind of, if you've got one really good weapon, he can figure out the rest of them. He can scheme other guys open. And he's never been big on, I have to have a really good wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, guy in the slot, tight end. Really, if he's got a good running back that can attack a team in both the run and the pass, and a good wide receiver or a good tight end, he's usually pretty set.
I'm going to be beating a dead horse here, Carl. The one thing he doesn't have is the running game right now, which is non-negotiable for a lot of Sean Payton teams. I'm not saying they have to go out there and use the first-round pick on running back. Love is going to be long gone, and I think you would be exceedingly short-sighted to give up a lot of early draft capital to move up for a running back. Love essentially would, unless you're moving up like 5 spots, your running back has to be Hall of Fame, and that's not a fair expectation to put on a player. And I'm similar to tight end. Like if they are like a small trade up, maybe, but I think that giving up assets to move up for those positions, given the economics of those positions on the open market and in the draft, I'd be skeptical to do that. I'd say pump the brakes. But draft, big picture, offensive weapon, offensive line, defensive line, linebacker. I think the real big dark horse is safety. Just if like a player that's highest on their board ends up being a safety, but what's the long-term plan with Barron? I don't know. Right now, I think, middle of the defense and honestly, anything on offense besides quarterback, I think is a viable pathway right now. And we'll see. We still got a long way to go. We'll see what moves the Broncos made leading up to that, what guys they lose. It'll change. But yeah, wide receiver round 1. I think right now, if I had to bet, if there was a betting market, I think wide receiver round 1 would be the betting favorite. But again, long way to go on that. Still plenty of time to figure out who might be there. Yep, as Todd said. But overall, yeah, we're wrapping it up here. The Broncos do come out with a 20-13 victory. Did want to talk a little bit of scenarios, Carl. I was messing with the playoff machine last night and like, okay, what happens if a lot of these games go the wrong way for the Broncos, given there's only one game left? How far can the Broncos fall? And I honestly, I know that the Denver Broncos can still lose the division, Carl. Obviously, we'll see what happens with Saturday. If the Chargers lose to the Texans, then the lowest the Broncos seed can be is the 3 seed. But as it stands right now, if the Broncos lose to the Chargers next week, they have, because of the AFC tiebreakers that they have, they can fall all the way to the 6th seed still this season, which is pretty shocking for what would be a 13-win team to be the 6th seed in the AFC. But if the Bills went out, the Jags went out, Patriots went out, and Denver loses, Denver falls to the 6th seed on the season. They'd be going to the Chargers in that one. Now, granted, this can be all for naught here coming up pretty soon. If the Chargers do lose to the Texans, but everything's on the table, and you are, all things considered, Broncos country. Obviously, you're pulling against the Chargers this week, also the Jags and the Patriots down the line. But the Bills right now, because of how the tiebreaker is set up, if they win out with what I don't think is an overly difficult schedule, they would have the tiebreaker over the Broncos if Denver loses, and they're both wildcard teams coming up here. So
I think they have Philadelphia this weekend.
Okay, so tough game.
And then the Jets.
Not a tough game.
Season. No.
So Denver just needs to freaking take care of business and beat the Jim Harbaugh Chargers for the first time in the last 3 attempts, at least 3 attempts. But there's a wide variance for this Broncos team still, and that's a little scary, of course. But I'm pretty sure, Carl, coming into that week, would have been week 17 game back in 2015, the Broncos entered that game with the ability to have the 1 seed, but if they lost, fall all the way to the 6th seed as well. The division was still up for grabs. I believe that season they would go on to win the Super Bowl. So again, not overly shocking, but when I was messing with the playoff simulator, I'm going to be honest, I didn't even know they could still fall all the way to the 6th seed. So still a lot of outcomes. We'll know a lot more following this week's games, though.
Yeah, it's, in the past, 10-7 seemed like a pretty darn good record.
Mm-hmm.
Where this year it's kind of like, oh crap, 10-7 probably doesn't get you to the playoffs. And it's just the who's who of football, where you've got the top end. There's not much of a middle in the NFL anymore. And then you got the bottom tier guys that are hoping maybe they can catch fire through the draft, free agency, and get back into that top tier area. And so because that middle tier is missing, you've got a lot of teams with really, really good records, and it's just very scrunched together. And so, yeah, the Broncos, thankfully, they haven't really dropped a game that they should have. I guess Colts game. Maybe, I don't know. I feel like they got outplayed in that one.
They did.
So even though, yes, the field goal thing at the end, I felt like they deserved to lose that one.
I think the Chargers game is right there as well. I mean, you had Justin Herbert go crazy, and you had Bo miss some drawn up, schemed up touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Right, like that probably should have been a win too. But it is what it is.
Yeah. So, like I said, I don't think the Broncos have really dropped an easy one per se this year, which is great, and it saved them where it does come down to this final week. But it is pretty crazy to see how small those margins are when it comes to what seeding you're going to be and how much is really going to be on the line. And I'm interested to see how the NFL decides to put the schedule together for this final week, because right now, everything is TBD because everything could be flexed, and it'll be interesting if they put all those games at the same time, which I don't think they'd do that, because that'd be too many primetime games all at the same time of teams really caring about what seeding they're going to be getting. But I think they're probably going to try to scrunch them together just to make teams have to really play those games as much as possible.
Yeah, we'll see. A lot of things are going to depend on how this week's games go. And we got some good ones today that will matter for the Broncos. Of course, you got at 3:30 Central, so 2:30 Mountain Time. You got Houston at Los Angeles, Baltimore at Green Bay. That'll be fun. Of course, you got Jacksonville at Indy. Jags are favored by 6. Pats at the New York Jets. That's, whatever. But then, as you mentioned, Eagles at Buffalo. So keeping our eye on a lot of games here. And the Broncos took care of business. And again, we're talking all these scenarios. Everything could go wrong against the Broncos, and it won't matter if they take care of business next week. So get healthy. I don't think I remember any big injuries coming out of this game, Carl, on the whole. Shout out to Alex Forsyth getting a game ball after the game, after his cluster, last year on that blocked field goal attempt. And he came in and started at center, and he almost, not great by any means, but, did enough in the end. And Denver still has enough to work on. So final point I wanted to get into here. I'll need to go back and watch the All-22 if I have time. Dad life, holidays, Broncos win. There's 10 days. Maybe I'll get a chance. But I thought Bo Nix had a good game. I don't know if he had a great game per se. Now, the interception I don't put on his shoulders. Should he have thrown that one? Maybe not. But it was a fluky interception in the end. It was so conservative and safe. I don't know if he was leaving more aggressive plays, that shots he should have been taking on the field out there with some of the design. But again, that's something you probably can only know in hindsight, looking back, or with the review of the tape.
Right. And I'm sure there's going to be a couple plays where we're going to look back and go, oh crap, how could he miss that? Now we don't know what sequence his reads were. Maybe the true number one part of the sequence was wide open, and so hey, you hit that when that opportunity presents itself. We'll have to see. Like I said, we can't fully know how that all plays out for how they want to do that. But you're right. I thought he had a good game. I mean, obviously, he had 2 touchdowns. The one interception, you're right. I don't think that 99 out of 100 times that play doesn't happen. It just crazy that a guy was right there, perfect timing. I still question a little bit if it had been called incomplete on the field, whether they would have overturned it or not. We can't know. Game's over anyway. But there were a couple missed passes, which every game there's going to be a couple missed passes. But there were others where he made a great throw. I mean, the Cortland Sutton one in the end zone, it was going to be a tough catch. Don't get me wrong. And I don't blame Cortland Sutton for dropping that one. But it was in the right spot, gave his receiver a chance to go up there and make a play, and it just got missed. I think like I said, there's 2 other passes. The one near the red or in the goal line area where he threw with high heat to Cortland Sutton, and I mean, he's only like 5 yards away from him. It's like, okay, Sutton was running wide open across the field there. If you just kind of lob it to him and let him run underneath it, that's probably a touchdown. And he just hit him with heat. And so that's one I'm sure Bo would like back. I think he was just a little bit rushed, felt the pressure coming, and felt like he had to squeeze one in there a little bit tighter. And then, like I said, the one with Sutton running across the field to the right, Bo Nix running up the pocket, and just a little bit long. I mean, it did hit the fingertips of Cortland Sutton. I used to be one of those guys, if it touches your hand, you should be able to catch it. But if it's barely touching your fingertips, like, I'm sorry, that's barely catchable. It's pretty much you have to tip it up and then go make the play, because you can't catch it just with a couple fingertips touching the ball. So those were the only couple bad throws that I was like, oh, come on. Should have had that one. That would have been a big play for us. So otherwise, very, very happy with him. And talking about being very happy, we got Michael Ronquillo coming in, gifting 5 Mile High Huddle memberships. Thank you, Michael, for doing that once again. You continue just to bring people into this community, to this family, and really appreciate that. So I was wearing that very Bo Nix jersey last night. So thank you. And we got a 49er fan joining us here saying, great season so far, guys. I would love to see Broncos Niners in the Super Bowl. That'd be fun. The old Kyle Shanahan coming to town. Well, I guess he wouldn't be coming to our town, but
McCaffrey as well.
Yeah, McCaffrey. There'd be so many connections to the Broncos there. And of course, then you got all the players, Hufanga, Greenlaw, DJ Jones, all those guys. And we've pretty much taken half your defense at this point from about 4 or 5 years ago. And yeah, so thank you for that. But no, that'd be a fun game. I don't know if we'll see it happen, but it's very much a real possibility.
Yeah, no, it really is. And it'll be a lot of fun to track. And yeah, big week in the game still yet. And happy the Broncos walked out with the dub in Arrowhead, breaking their 10-year losing streak in Arrowhead. So great to see that. Happy for the Broncos and come out relatively healthy. Again, was it ugly? Wasn't the prettiest game for sure, but it was a low drive game. And when you do that, things like the red zone and the turnovers get amplified because you don't have additional drives to really flex your talent, the talent discrepancy. So in the end, Denver got the dub. Things to work on. I wish Bo Nix didn't have to run so much. I keep coming back to the running game in general, but they got time to hopefully figure it out. And Sean Payton's a smart guy. You know, he already said something at halftime talking about frustrations with the run game. And I think after the game as well. So definitely something that's on his mind right now. And again, hopefully Denver will figure it out in a big game coming up against the Chargers next week. I'm hoping that the game is on Saturday, Carl, because I think it can be Saturday or Sunday. We'll figure it out based on how the league flexes it out. But if it's on Saturday, I might grab tickets to go. If it's on Sunday, my son's birthday, I'm at home. But So we'll see. But yeah, they're not super expensive right now. So it'll be fun. Thank you, Carl, for joining us. Hopefully Erick's having a good Boxing Day with family as well. Appreciate all the super chat givers coming in. Perry West, Shannon Mills coming in, Rob Bucksbaum, and of course, Michael Ronquillo as well. Appreciate you guys so much coming in and hanging out on this fine Christmas Day too, for those at home who are celebrating, other stuff today, and enjoy the weekend as well. Follow Carl on Twitter. Carl's at Carl Delmer MHH. I'm at Nick Kendall MHH. We're also over at Mile High Huddle over on X. Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and Facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. You can find us on there. And as that ticker says underneath, if you're joining us on YouTube today, please like, subscribe, and share. You guys have a great rest of your day. Carl, thanks for joining me in the morning. I'm off to go get a second cup of coffee, and appreciate everyone for coming in here, hanging out this morning. I won't be here Monday. I will be driving back to Denver then, so I will see you again Tuesday night, and for the morning shows a week from today. So have a great one, everyone. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, all that good stuff. Thanks for joining, Carl. Kindness and compassion, all y'all. Go Broncos.